Hey all, Hawk and Carlton at Carlton Carnivores here today with another special plant to show you guys. I know I've been showing a lot of butterworts recently, but when they're in bloom, I've got to take advantage of it. And so today I've got Moctezuma's butterwort, Pinguicula moctezumae. This is one of these species that I really like because it's got this long leaf, kind of filiform shape, and for whatever reason, the plants that look like this always really stand out to me. This is a species found in Querétaro and Hidalgo state in central Mexico. It's found in the Moctezuma Canyon that actually runs kind of on the border between those two states. And rather than being named for the famous historical figure Moctezuma, it's more indirectly named. It's named for the canyon that it's found in. These guys grow at around 900 to 1100 meters in elevation in that canyon and are usually found on rather steep cliff faces, usually in very calcareous, alkaline environments. There's a lot of calcium carbonate limestone in those rock surfaces, and so that's where these guys like to grow, and there's always, it's seeping, dripping moisture in those areas. There's a lot of moss and other wet vegetation, and that's year-round for these guys. So unlike a lot of other Mexican butterwort species, these guys are what are known as a homophilous species. So they retain the same growth pattern year-round. While other Mexican butterworts may go through winter phases, not dormancy, mind you, this is just a different growth phase that they use to kind of conserve water. This species doesn't have to do that, and so like species like Pinguicula giganteo or E. marginata, and a handful of others, these guys grow kind of the same way year-round. So these guys can grow to almost 25 centimeters across, so almost 8-9 inches, just because how long these leaves can be. Each leaf can be almost 15 centimeters, 6 inches long. And like most butterworts, these are covered in tiny little glands that produce a sticky mucilage that actually captures the insects. And don't know if you can see it on there, but there's actually a handful of fruit flies that are stuck to this guy right now. So this species stretches out these long skinny leaves out off of the cliff faces to capture insects that are flying by or attract gnats in the moss and soils around it. And then at varying times of year, this species doesn't seem to have a particular flowering season, but it will send up at any particular time one to several stalks that are usually just a little bit taller than the plant itself. And these stalks also have glands as well that will capture insects. Although for the flower stalk, these glands are probably more defensive than actually meant for capturing food. And at the end of the stalk, of course, they produce one singular flower. And in this species, it is a brilliant hot pink bloom with white right around the center of the flower. Sometimes a little bit of yellow right in the throat as well. And these guys, they don't have much of a corolla tube, unlike some other butterwort species, but they do have a very, very long spur. And now that spur, it may be designed, it may have evolved to coexist with hummingbirds, kind of like Pinguicula lawiana probably does, because they are attracted to these sorts of colors. Or it might be in conjunction with the hawk moths that are also found in the area. Those are species that just have these either a really long beak or a long proboscis that can actually reach down all the way into the tip of that really long spur to gather the nectar that is produced at the bottom. And as they do that, as their heads enter right in the throat of the flower here, they'll contact the actual reproductive parts of the flower. Like other butterworts, the flowers are basically, they develop almost upside down. The calyx with the sepals is actually sitting on top of the flower, and right underneath that is where the stigma and the anthers both hang. The stigma it looks like a little flap on the inside of the throat of the flower hanging from the top. And as insects or hummingbirds or whatever it may be enter the flower, they brush against that, and any pollen that is on their face will brush against that stigma, transferring pollen on there, and then pollinates the flower. As they pull back, that stigma flap lifts up, and the two anthers that kind of curve on either side of the throat underneath that are right behind the stigma, and they will brush against that to collect pollen to move to the next flower. Once it's pollinated like other species, it'll produce a seed pod that will develop and swell out. It'll produce a whole bunch of little tiny brown seeds over the period. Usually takes maybe a month or so for these guys to actually fully ripen their seeds. They're actually a fair bit faster than some other carnivorous plants, which is kind of nice. And then they'll release those seeds, and those seeds will scatter on the ground or on the moss, whatever they're growing around, and sprout up new plantlets. With Mexican butterworts, oftentimes these seeds have very short lifespans, so when you get them, you have to sow them almost immediately because they really don't store very well. So within the first couple of weeks they get sown, and then they will start sprouting up little seedlings that start out really, really tiny. They develop kind of rounded cotyledons and first leaves, and then as they mature, those leaves will begin to stretch out. So this is a species that I would actually consider to be pretty decent for beginners, as long as you can manage to kind of keep it at a general moisture level. These guys don't like it being really wet. They also don't like to dry out ever, since their natural habitat doesn't. So always keeping it just kind of moist is good for them. In the wild, again, they grow in a rather alkaline, calcareous mineral environment on rocks and seeps. So like other carnivorous plants, I actually grow them in what is mostly perlite, and I use actually blasting abrasive, which is a great substitute for silica sand, as long as it's washed properly. And so most of what is in here is mineral, and then just a little bit of peat to help kind of wick up moisture. Some people do have success with this species growing in almost pure like sphagnum moss, though. I just prefer this because it does provide more aeration and drainage, and so I can make sure it's just kind of kept lovely moist all the time. I top water. You can also grow this in a tray. Just make sure it is moist at the same level all the time. And then again, to propagate these guys, if you have multiple clones, you could actually cross them. They don't seem to like to self-pollinate. Or when you can take leaf pullings, actually pull an entire leaf, kind of peel off the base of the plant, and then stick it into some moist soil and substrate. And from the base of that leaf, it'll produce new plantlets. Or given just kind of time on its own, these guys, after they bloom, oftentimes will also develop new growth points, and they'll divide on their own. And so you'll develop colonies over time. This species does that a little slower than others, but it'll still eventually produce colonies. So, yeah, for beginners with the Mexican butterworts in particular, this is often a very good species, especially if you want something that looks a little bit different from the usual just flat rosetted species that are probably most common. So, that's all that I have for you guys for this particular species. If you like the video, certainly let me know in the comments. And also share the video, since the more it's shared, the more people see it, the better supported this channel will become. If you'd like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe, because there's always more videos that are in the works that are planned coming up. If there's a particular species, or if there's particular animals, well, that you'd like to see, certainly let me know in the comments, or contact me through the website, carltoncarnivores.com. All of my contact information is on there. If you'd like to help support the channel, support the website, education and conservation, make sure to visit the website, carltoncarnivores.com. There's the shop there with plants and sometimes animals for sale, as well as consider becoming a supporter on our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/hcarlton. That helps fund my ability to sit down and actually make these videos, or write blog articles and so on, take trips to actually find things out in the wild. And also, if you become a supporter there, patrons get exclusive access to certain content, video clips and such that I don't share anywhere else, discounts to the shop, giveaways for seeds and other things, and more. So certainly consider becoming a supporter there. As always, if you have questions, comments, if there's something you'd like to add or something you'd like clarification on, leave a comment below or contact me. If you'd like to see more videos or photos and so on, I'm always sharing things on my social media pages, Carlton Carnivores, on Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. And until next time, I'm Hawken Carlton. This is Carlton Carnivores. Yeah, real quick before we actually finish up the video, I've got a quick announcement. The YouTube channel has reached the first 100 subscribers. So thank you all for those who are following the channel. And to celebrate, I'm actually going to do a very special giveaway for those who are watching the channel, who have seen this video and have watched all the way through. The butterworts are actually really prolific for me right now, and this species that was featured, Pinguicula Moctezuma, was actually used in a couple of hybrids recently. One of them is Pinguicula Moctezuma cross Lawiana, the red-flowered butterwort. And so, for all who watch this video, if you contact me through my website within the next couple of weeks, I am going to actually do a giveaway for the first set of seeds that these crosses are producing. Most likely it will be either Moctezuma cross Lawiana or the reverse cross. I'm going to set aside a handful of seeds from one of those pods, and I will send it out to the winner of the giveaway. After this video is posted, I'm going to host the giveaway for about a week. Make sure to contact me through my website, Carlton Carnivores. If you watch this video through the end and see this, let me know that you have seen this little clip and you would like to enter the giveaway. I can host this for basically anywhere in the world as long as you don't have any special restrictions for importing seeds. So US is preferred, but I can work with just about anywhere. So if you want to win some hybrid seeds, just let me know. Contact through carltoncarnivores.com, and I'll see you later.